at 6:35 p.m. This meeting is held remotely as an alternative means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that the meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, subparagraph 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. And as you heard, the recording is in progress and the meeting is being recorded. Okay, so give me 1 second because I had a cheat sheet of notes.
We're starting with Ryan.
No, but I left, I just flew back home. Apologies, everybody. So
That's all right.
scrambling. I left my notes of who was appointed to each one.
Oh.
And I have them here.
Good.
Okay, so we have 2 agenda items that are continuations. 988 Main Street and 237, 239 South Street are both continuations from last meeting. The voting members last time were Catherine, Justin, Eric, Carol, and myself. We only have Eric and myself here at the moment. Andrea.
Yeah.
Can 2 members, I can't have 2 members voting on it when 3 are gone.
Well, no, we have a quorum for us is 3. So we do have a quorum.
No, I know we have a quorum, but I just wonder.
You can have 4 people if you want.
Yep, no, but we were.
They were all here.
Yeah, we were traditionally keeping the appointed members the same because those were the comments and the feedbacks. I don't think it'll, for either of these 2 items, it's going to come into play. So
I don't think so. Plus, they were here.
Yes.
That would
Josh and Marianne. Josh, you were at the last meeting? I know Marianne was. Okay, good. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is for the 2 continuations, actually for all agenda items tonight, the voting members will be myself, Eric, Josh, Marianne. I just want to confirm that, well, no, I can't do that. Sorry. My apologies. This, with Carol not being here, this has gotten messy. So for the 2 continuations, 988 Main Street and 237, 239 South Street, it will be Marianne, Josh, Eric, and myself as the voting members. For 182 South Street, 256 South Street, 107 Main Street, the voting members, and 224 South Street. So that's 182 South Street, 256 South Street, 107 Main Street, 224 South Street. The voting members will be again, Marianne, Josh, myself, and Eric. 107 Main, I'm sorry.
107 is not coming tonight.
Okay. 1020 Main Street. The only voting members would be myself, Eric, and Josh. Marianne is an abutter and therefore cannot be a voting member on that item and is recusing herself from that agenda item. Correct, Marianne?
Correct. Very correct.
Are there any other conflicts that I need to be made aware of? Great. Okay. Apologies to everybody for the confusion. Late minute scramble. We don't normally do this on Tuesdays, so apologies. So with that said, we have Ryan Lally with us, 988 Main Street. Just a minor update to the plan, some feedback that were given at the last meeting about which exact privacy fence wanted to go in and the final height. So we don't need to go through the whole packet. We know where you want the fence. That's fine. I think if you want to share your screen, or I can, just to finalize what fence type and size and dimensions that you wanted to use.
Yep. Says I'm host disabled participant screen sharing. So if you give me permission, I can.
Oh, hang on. You should. No, it says you're allowed to do that, to share screen.
I just tried. I can't do it either.
All
Andrew.
right, try again.
Yep, now you're good. Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
Okay. Sorry
Thanks.
about that.
No problem. So thank you, everyone. Took the feedback from the committee last month, and the feedback that I got was looking for a lighter color to the fence and not just straight 6 feet high. So came back with, talked to the person I'm working with, came back with a lighter option with 5 feet cedar and then 1 foot lattice topper. And here is a picture of the proposed fence.
Great. So it's 5 foot tall with, so final height 6 feet total, so 5 foot base with a 1 foot topper.
Correct.
And then caps on top of the posts. And then are you intending to leave this natural and let it weather?
Yes.
Great. And then that's tongue and groove down at the base. That all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I think this is the biggest thing that we were looking for. It's what, hopefully it's what you heard the feedback, what you want to go with. So I don't know if any commission members wish to ask any questions or clarifications. I see no from Eric, a no from Josh. Marianne, any questions? No? All right. With no questions, comments, or concerns, I'd entertain a motion if anybody on the committee wishes to make one.
Yep, I can make a motion. I move to reissue a certificate of appropriateness to 988 Main Street in the Liberty Plain District to construct a fence as provided by package dated 4/2/24. I don't think we have any specific conditions beyond what was presented in the package.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion?
The only thing we can add is that the cedar fence will be left to weather, although it's really the choice if the owner wants to do something else, like paint it.
Yeah, to clarify, Andrea, if Mr. Lally decides he wants to paint it, does he need to, he just connect with you before, or you can just?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
No additional discussion. Eric, how do you vote?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
Tonight for me. So, Mr. Lally, I know that we asked you to come back. Hopefully this didn't delay you, and it was pretty much perfunctory. So thank you for taking the extra time and just resubmitting. It was very helpful. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate everyone. Thank you very much.
Okay, good night. Thanks.
Okay. So 237, 239 South Street, located in Lincoln Historic District for a covered porch, new entrance, door, and rear addition with window changes. I don't think we need to go through the whole packet. John, I think, we went through, comments were pretty minor. I think we were looking for some updates, some of the window schedule call outs and things like that. So if you want to just focus in on any changes or updates or any comments directly back to from our comments from last time.
That sounds good. For the record, John Teriyaki Architectural Design, and the homeowners, Pam and Dick Amster are also here. I'm just going to share my screen and go through the revisions that we sent to the commission. To start with these two entry doors, so this is unit 239 and this is 237. We had different style doors before, and the commission had requested or suggested more historically appropriate 6-panel doors. And so we specified those doors for both of these units. They're solid wood Simpson doors. And those are in the updated window schedule, which is on the cover sheet. I'm just going to scroll back. And they're specified here. We also went ahead, another comment was just clarifying the window specs, which we did here for the new windows, Marvin Wood Ultimate, solid wood, simulated divided lights with spacer bars, and 5/8 inch mountain width. I'm just going to go back to that proposed front elevation. The next item was the central window here. This window was original. The light pattern before was not reflecting what was there. So that was updated to be a 9/9, which is the current window, and that window will just be repaired and reinstalled. And the last item were the windows on the left side of your view right here. So 2 of the upper windows were damaged in the fire, actually 3 of them, and this is the side elevation here. And then the lower 2 windows and another window here, we wanted to go ahead and replace those as well. So those windows right now are not historic. They had been replaced with modern windows by another owner. So they are not original. So basically all of the 6 of these windows, these 6 units will be replaced with solid wood windows that are matching these sizes. So we indicated those with the R designation. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. So it's these 4 windows. These 2 are already destroyed, the 3 above. And the 3 below are not historic. They've been replaced with modern replacement windows with grills between the glass, I believe. So we would like to go ahead and replace these 6 windows with solid wood simulated divided light windows matching these sizes. So I believe that was the list that we had from last time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
The only other thing I had in my notes from last time was Commissioner Blevins asked about mutton widths, and you mentioned that you'd specify that.
Yeah, so we're calling out for 5/8 inch,
Okay.
which we think is probably the most appropriate historically for all the new Wood Ultimate units.
Yep. And then the last other note I had was, oh no, you gave us that. Yeah, the door, and then, oh, there was a question about if any of the windows being removed from the rear could be reused. But then
Yes.
confirm
Yeah.
those are final.
Yes, some of them are, and we looked at that, and it's kind of a mixed bag of windows. It's basically this group of windows on the right here, and some of them are modern. However, none of these sizes are really appropriate. Okay. And in terms of what we want to do in the proposed rear addition, and we thought that it was going to be too difficult. Well, this one is actually staying. It was going to be too difficult to try to work with those units. We talked to the contractor as well, Peter Bickford, and determined that it was not going to be feasible to try to preserve these windows. So that was the outcome of that conversation.
Okay. That's all I had on my notes. So I don't know if I missed anything, if any other commission members have anything else that I missed or any other comments. Josh?
No, I'm good. That's all that I had.
Eric?
Just one clarification. So the front elevation, the existing that are staying on this elevation we're looking here on the right side of the entry. So those you mentioned, those are not original windows either. When you say to match, I just want to curious, the windows on the left, the windows on the right, how they're going to match. Are they actually identical? What's different? Just trying to understand what that front elevation will look like.
Right, so we're leaving these windows as they are. I'm just gonna try to find a photograph that maybe better represents what's happening. So they're not grills between the glass, but they have been replaced. So these are replacement inserts. So we were not planning to touch these windows. Although in theory, one could argue that the new wood ultimates that are to be inserted here may look slightly different than these. With, you know, minute differences. But yes, we were leaving the group on the right as they are.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think knowing that they're not original windows, we're not gonna have original on one side and new windows on the other side, I think is,
Right.
as long as they're close match, should be appropriate, in my opinion.
All right, anything else, Eric?
No, that was it.
Marianne?
No comments.
I think I'm good too, so, I don't know if a commission member wants to make a motion.
Don't have the original application in front of me. I don't know if anyone has it, just to reference the information.
I do, I could share it on the screen if you want to read from it.
I would happy to do that if no one else has got it.
Or I don't know if John has it actually.
The application form.
Yeah, the cover page for the application.
Yeah, I can pull that up just a minute.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness to, as this 273 South Street or 239 South Street.
237, 239.
So for 237 to 239 South Street in the Lincoln Local Phase 2 Historic District, to construct the repair of addition on the, call it the west side of the building, including a new cover entry, replacement of windows on the front elevation, side elevations, and the rear elevations, as well as replacement of doors on both sides of the building per the plans dated April 4th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I apologize. Our revised plans were March 27th. I'm realizing now there was a there's a little bit of a mismatch, so I guess April 4th still governs.
I
Sorry.
would say we'll go off the cover page.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank
Yeah.
you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, no worries. Any discussion? Yeah. Josh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, John. I really appreciate you and the answers coming back, and looking forward to seeing it done.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. After a scramble to get started this morning, we now have, or this evening, we have 6 minutes to wait. So my apologies. I see that the Ryans are on, but we can't start until 7 because that's when we posted your start time. So we're in the penalty box until then. Andrea, so a housekeeping item. So even though you sent me an email with plans, the Wibleys are not coming at 7:40?
They're not coming. No, and I wrote it. sorry, I wrote it on it said hearing postponed.
Gotcha.
So did everybody see that on theirs?
I saw it was written on there, but then I got the email today, so that's why I wanted to clarify. And then the website didn't say postponed, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, sorry.
That's all
Well,
right.
it's been postponed. So let's see.
That's all right.
Oh, I have something to tell you. Here we go. Here's a little fun fact to waste time. In 1829, OK, in quotes, enters the national vernacular published in the Boston Morning Post as an abbreviation for all correct. A slight misspelling of all correct. So instead of AC, it's okay. So anyway, just so you know, that 1829, we've been saying okay.
The fun facts you learn when you have time.
Okay.
I know. And I have more.
Well, I'll take this as an opportunity to plug the Benjamin Lincoln House's upcoming open house and grand opening that's coming up.
The open house is on the 4th, and it's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And there will be docents to give you a guided tour through. So I think it's going to be fabulous. Thank you for reminding me. I meant to say that as well. All right, you want to hear one more fun fact?
Shoot.
You good? Come on, let's see some animation, some excitement here. All right, so Dolly Parton, one of my faves, cemented her status as a country pop crossover artist with the success of 9 to 5, billing #1 in, when was it, 1983? Actually, yeah, in 1983. So there you have it.
I'll follow that up with, I was not alive in 1983.
Well, tough.
But I know the song.
I'm sure you can still watch 9 to 5 and you can listen to it.
I'm a big fan of Dolly. I saw her a few years ago.
Yes, Dolly, just as a side note, Dolly just did she's got a new CD out with an album with all sorts of people like Steven Tyler
Yeah, she did a
and
rock
Kid
album.
Rock. It is
Did it-
fabulous.
She
It's
did it because she got
Rockstar.
inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but never made a rock and roll album and felt obliged to do it.
Yeah, so it's called Rockstar, and you would not be disappointed. Okay, done.
All right, still got 2 minutes.
Oh, come on, no. Mine
Doesn't
doesn't
have-
say.
Gotta drag those stories on a little longer.
No, it's 6:59.
1 minute.
I think we can go.
All right, I'll introduce it. We'll get started. So it's 7 o'clock agenda item. Neela and Christopher Ryan, 182 South Street, located in the Lincoln Historic District, to construct south-facing 2-story addition. A portion of the existing fence will be relocated as shown on the site plan. So Ryan's, are you sharing your screen? Do you want me to share? I have your packet either way.
You could share, sure.
So Bonnie is not joining us tonight, is that correct?
She's not able to come.
Bonnie's not.
Okay, just wanted to
So-
make sure.
Yes, we'll try to answer
I'm
as
sure you'll do a
technical as
fine job.
possible.
Actually, Andrew, you did not send me their packet.
We have it. We'll pull it up.
We can pull it.
Okay.
Here, do the PDF version.
Okay. Shares. This one?
Yeah.
Oh, I lied. You did, Andrea. You're too good to me. I do have it.
That's it.
Just make it big, folks.
Why don't you-
That's fine. Just take your time. We got time to kill.
Yeah. Can you guys see that?
I'm just looking at blue square.
Not quite yet.
We
see
have a,
There we
oh,
go.
there we go.
All
All
right.
right, so there's the application.
Yeah, so the original application, so I guess we'll just run through everything as we have it. So again, just, what's that?
But I think we should just go to the existing plan.
Go for it, yeah.
Sorry, there's just a lot packed in here.
Yep.
That's okay.
So how do I get rid of all of you guys? Not to say I don't want to see your faces, but there we go.
Oh,
Not to say I don't want to see you all because it's nice.
right, you can minimize us.
So we have our plot plans and we can kind of toggle through what you need to
Good.
see, but this is showing the south facing, so the new addition area. And we have existing here. So right now it's like a blue stone patio, basically,
Mhm.
that we're going to be going over. Ooh, this is quite dark. Here are our existing photos, which are very dark right now. We have existing floor plans. Let me just get to what's new. Existing elevations. And then this is our plan for the downstairs. It might be better just to look at the elevations first, then we can kind of work backwards. Is that how to rotate this stuff?
There we go. Yay.
Yeah, a little easier to look at than sideways and upside down. So over here is the the view of what you'll see from potentially Hersey, right? Really the south. And then this is from the other direction.
From the yard.
From the yard.
So not street facing.
Yep.
Yeah. So all this is new here. This would be like an entrance. And then this would be like from kind of our neighbor's view inside. Let me just see what we can see. This would be from Hersey over here. So where my cursor is. So right now we have arborvitae kind of covering this whole side of the house.
Mhm.
And this would be what would be visible mostly from the newness.
And currently there's a fence that sits there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a low.
Yeah, like a wood fence.
I know I marked in the application that we're going to be relocating fence. We actually may not be. We're saying that we're going to be removing some existing, because obviously this is just going to be replaced with house. We do have details. It's really hard to see on this draft, so I'm sorry, that really just say that we're going to be matching existing windows. All of the roof will be matching existing on the house. We are going to try and reuse some windows. So these here would be to try to reuse what's just existing on the house. We have these two, upper and lower, would be new windows to put in just to add light inside because the ceilings are low, but they would just match this existing neighbor. The one thing that we are looking to change in materials is we'd like to shingle this back area and this area
The whole addition would be cedar shingled.
to cedar shingle.
Shakes instead of lap siding. Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, it would break up kind of like the large flap that would be happening. So it would be a little break in.
Aesthetic. It wouldn't look like just like a
Aesthetic.
massive wall.
Mhm.
And that was really all my notes. Oh, and the addition's about 550 square feet. Those were most of my notes from Bonnie.
All right, so, big picture here, I think it's probably a little tricky, right, without not having Bonnie here, who's your technical, who's your architect and can probably answer some of these technical questions, but what I'd like to do is, I think there's some feedback, from the committee, that we want to share with you. Additionally, I have a list of items that I'd like to see added to the packet, additional information that we need, some cut sheets for doors and windows,
Okay.
things like that, pretty standard stuff. That we can handle administratively at the end. I can, I'll rattle it off, but we can follow up. Andrea can do an email to you and Bonnie, just so that you guys formally have it. And then that way our committee can focus more on just pretty clear, direct feedback on this design. And then I think if it's helpful, Andrea, can Bonnie reach out and have a follow-up conversation with you directly or with the
Oh,
Ryan?
sure,
if need be?
sure.
Okay. All right, so with that, I'm just gonna add a little bit more detail to make sure I understand this all. So basically, there's a hardscape element to this also, where you're gonna do the bluestone patio, you're gonna have a little retaining wall, raise it, and you're kind of raising up and flattening out, and there'll be a couple steps down to the grade. I was just kind of.
Yeah, so those are existing
are
steps. So we're going to be
existing.
utilizing, there's actually no additional hardscaping that's going to be done. It's going to be, improvising the existing conditions into the new design. So as our stairs go down into our back patio now, those will also be the stairs that will lead us into the new entrance to the back.
Gotcha.
So
I'm gonna
this,
share my screen real quick. If that's
oh,
all right.
yep.
I just need to do this. If you could
Oh,
stop.
yes, I'll stop sharing.
I just want to make sure I understood this correctly. So, so when we see on the plans, like a little retaining wall with the fence and everything, that's, oops. Where do we go? All right. Screen's going wild tonight. You guys can see my screen or no?
Not yet.
No.
Weird.
As you've
There we go.
started.
It's weird when I do it, it says resume share, but. So weird that it, I don't know.
It says,
It's not working for me for some reason. I don't know why.
You want us to try to pull it back up?
Let me see. I was just trying to pull up the Google Street View to make sure I was visualizing some of this.
oh,
And I don't know why. Maybe this is fine.
Oh, there.
yay.
Yep.
All right, so I'm not in the right place.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Who's
that?
You are back here. Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so now I can see this better. So this little retaining, that's an existing retaining wall there.
Yeah.
And then there's one that turns back across here that's tucked behind the fence.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's all staying. And then there's a set of steps beyond the gate that we can't see here.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
steps down there.
Yep.
So all that stays the same.
Yeah.
And then the addition basically works out to, make sure I understand. So it is gonna come all the way down, just tucked in from this side.
Yep.
Onto here, and then come And this all stays, or does this get?
No, so it'll go if you can.
That first skylight that you see closest to the
Because
street, right to almost the edge of that
Yeah.
first skylight is where the second story will
Gotcha.
Connect to.
commence.
And then it comes out. It looks like you're gonna come out then
Let me see.
a
Yep.
little bit past this, like almost to this retaining wall.
Yeah, and so to your
Yes.
point, Dan, there will be the wall as you see it there will be taken out, and we will take away a little bit of that driveway element, and there will be a new retaining wall poured, but it won't be any hardscape
Okay,
element.
that's
Like
what
a
I'm trying to wrap my head around is how
Yep.
did this,
Yeah.
how does this all fit?
Yep.
Yeah, so the fence will be out and we'll be removing, removing that like decorative hardscape, and it will just be foundation of the new dwelling, new building,
Okay.
basically.
So that comes
Mhm.
17 feet off and that, okay,
Yep.
okay. Those were like the big high level, just making sure I understood that right. So I will stop sharing and I'll pass it over to the commission members to see if there's any questions, comments, clarifications. We'll start with Eric, because I see him there.
Yeah, I guess there's a couple questions more than anything. Do you know any history on the lean-to portion of the addition? Because do you know any history of if that's original, if that was a later add-on?
That was a later add-on,
was
like
done in-
with the skylight piece.
That was
That-
done in 89, I want to say. The original edition was put on 89, and then it was redone.
Yeah, but just interior stuff.
Interior stuff and some external windows were redone in 2013.
Yeah, it certainly looks like the windows are new, I guess, for all the commissioners.
Yeah,
Sometimes-
this whole area feels new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes those lean-tos are original to the period, like that's actually something they built on in the 1700s, but sometimes they're built on later.
Yeah, this one was certainly built on later in the
Yeah,
in the
there's a
80s.
whole new basement. It's not part of the original stone basement. This is like a modern basement.
Okay, that's actually great to know. And then, so we talked about, I think, Dan's gonna get to it, what the windows will be. What, I guess the question, what the existing windows on the other part of the larger original part of the building, are those all? You know what those windows are?
I don't know.
We like
There's
to
no,
think they're original. We don't.
They're not original to the house for certain, but they're obviously to, I think, the historical spec because they're all single pane. And I believe.
I
don't know if
could
they're
show,
custom,
I
but-
could show the, like what we have on Google Maps view.
The French doors certainly look new.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
French doors are new.
So actually, when we moved in years ago, one of our neighbors is the carpenter who actually did this kitchen over, and he came in and he was telling us about it, and he told us that he put the windows in on both the like our neighbors facing and then the Hershey Street side facing in, as well as the doors, and he said that they were actually not to code or to the historical society code. And Andrew, you may remember this, and he said, oh, I made a mistake or something like that, and I guess it's been that way since. So that's what he told us.
That was that Michael?
It was what's the last name? It's Morpheus.
Kandari?
Morpheus.
Oh, yeah, Michael Kandari.
Yeah, Kandari.
Morpheus. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to Bonnie, who had said that we would use either the Marvin or the Pella. No, I can't really see my own writing. The Pella something. The Pella True divided lights. So the fronts are those 6/6s? No, I can't. Yeah, 6/6s. So we would just try to match. We could try to match the front to keep in the side versus the back.
Okay.
Because part of
Yeah,
it is the Kersey.
yeah, the main thing is there's sort of a, when we do new windows, there's generally replacement doing wood windows, so interior and exterior.
Mhm.
And then for the Muntins, we use them with the narrower, which is the 5/8.
Yep.
You do the, when you do the cut sheets, I just make sure Bonnie's,
Yeah,
maybe you're all aware of that, but just keep in mind.
absolutely.
As far as like, is there gonna be, I see the AC condensers on where they are now. Is there any new equipment being added that's not like noted on the site? Or is it?
No, we're planning to use everything that we have within the new structure.
Okay, and then, so I guess my one last sort of, I guess, general comment is, so. Certainly sympathetic you're on a corner, which is tricky, right? Because if you build in the back on most other lots, we can't even see it, so we don't even
Yeah.
have jurisdiction, so it's certainly tougher being on a corner lot, so I can sympathize with that, and I appreciate the addition, how you sort of drop the roof down and set it back, so it sort of features the existing home better. I think that's really thoughtful. And so like the addition separated from the original home is clear, which again is appreciated. And I have I think doing different siding on the addition, I think is actually a good move again, to sort of, it's appropriate, but it's also different from the existing home, so you can read them separately. So I think that's another great move.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think my only hesitation is in the existing house where you're adding that second window to the other window. I think it'd be nice to keep the original home with just those pair of windows. I know it's unfortunate, there's less light there, but it's more true to the window framing of that original. And this is like a 1700 home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The older home. So I think my recommendation or preference would be to keep just the single window, as long as that still works with the layouts for those first, second floor. But beyond that, I feel like the rest of it is really appropriate. It's more just buttoning up those things Dan talked about as far as like getting the door cut sheets. One thing, I don't know if Dan, you have a list, but like the lighting cut sheets. And I think that might have been all I had noted. So I did have a question on the back patio again. This, I don't think there's really anything that I want to call it the sticking point, but it looks like there's a new privacy fence like cutting through the steps. I just wanted to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as it stands right now, when you come in the back and you go through our parking pad, as Dan showed, you walk down, there's 3 steps that brings you into like a larger bluestone patio. And right now the access point to the home is these 2 French doors that we have.
Mhm.
So in order to keep's not the right word, but in order to draw the person walking into the house into this new door, which is underneath that covered porch as part of the design, we were going to put a new fence to separate partitions so that you're actually kind of funneled into the new door rather than using those 2 French doors as your main access to the house, because it's a little bit not of your concern, but in the kitchen, when these French doors open inwardly to where it is, it just becomes a problem with space. And we have an island that kind of sits about 4 feet from that entry point. So we're just trying to dissuade that as the main entry point into the home.
Okay, yeah, it works. I think it'll be again, a question of just what that privacy fence is, like the height.
Sure.
Kind of, okay.
His color and everything, but the inclusion of it, I have no issue with. But yeah, just confirming.
So like you want the specs? Yeah, we have an existing cedar privacy that's pretty boring. This one maybe could be like a little bit more decorative. I don't know. We actually didn't talk about that. So we could get you more information on that, because it is like when you drive down Hersey, it would be also like a privacy for us to not see as many cars coming down Hersey. So we can get the like height and specs on that.
And our original intention had just been to match that fence that separates the driveway of our neighbor and ours in terms of at least height wise and material wise with cedar.
I think that's like that'd be encouraging rather than doing like a 6-foot fence there.
Oh yeah.
It's more neighborly as we like.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But Okay, yeah, I mean, for me, it's really, those are the main things, so just getting confirmation of what those materials are, the sort of items that we talked about earlier, and then the one comment on those existing double windows, if you, something you were okay with just doing the one there, I feel like then I'd really have no comments on it, so it's.
Yeah, the only, I just was going back to our plan, so that, while the downstairs one is not necessary, of course, the upstairs one would leave that small bedroom just one window where we'd be removing another window. The two was like really truly just an opportunity for light, but we could kind of talk about that
Yeah.
with Bonnie. I'm sure it would be fine. I'd rather like.
The only other issue is
Between
that
the house
because they are within the style and the scope of the 1700s home, they are undersized windows for the second floor relative to the first floor. So they are small to begin with, but I mean, I'm,
Yeah, I think.
push comes to shove.
Yeah, it might be, it's probably fine.
It's not a massive problem to me.
Child's bedroom.
Save a window, save some dollars.
Yeah, I mean, that's I'd be curious what other commissioners think, like they, that's my thoughts, but I'm the only one, by all means, it's not gonna hold me up, but curious what others think.
I had the same concern as Eric. I think it's just broadly, I think it's a great design, but the makes a lot of sense. It's respectful of the lot. But my only concern was that adding that second window on each floor. And the only other thing I would, like Eric said, calling out the window materials and the month and widths. You mentioned reusing a window, and that's normally fine, but if it's going to be on the street elevation, it needs to be a wood window that meets the specs.
Yep.
Other than that, great. And the front yard fence came out nicely, I think. So.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
actually get a lot of compliments on
I know.
it. It's really sweet.
And it's been as functional as it is looking good. So
Yeah, the neighborhood
Keeps the
seems to
kids in.
love it. So the wood with the specs for the windows and everything, would that be part of the cut sheet for the?
Yeah, I'll go through the list of all that at the end for you.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Mary Ann, do you have any comments?
I don't have any additional comments, no.
To follow up on the existing relocated windows, so I see those two windows when I look at the west elevation now, they're there also. So is that implying that it's the two windows that are back on the lean-to, you're pulling those forward and reuse those, that's where they're coming from?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, just to echo what Josh was saying, it'd be good to understand, right now, I don't really know what those are. So in theory, yeah, I kind of like it, but also, I don't know, like.
Yeah, okay.
If they're different from, the existing that are on the west elevation and different from what's gonna be above, just want to understand how that all ties together, right? We don't want to
Yeah,
have.
we can provide those, what those are.
I
Yeah.
think photos would be good for us, just
Photos,
the
okay.
existing windows that we want to reuse. So what I have is, I'm looking for I think we're looking for some additional detail on the privacy fence, what it is. It says 5 feet. Just a little bit more detail there would be good. Cut sheets on the lighting, the doors, the windows, calling out what the trim is, would be good. Some minor things, just adding some roof slopes to this, would be helpful. Just to know what the additional roof slopes are gonna be, so it's documented.
Sure.
They are on there, Dan.
Oh, are they?
It's 30
Yeah,
degrees. I think.
Oh, it's 30 degrees. Gotcha. Okay, I see it. The other thing I'm gonna ask, give Bonnie this feedback. She scrambled this up on me. If we could get her to do west elevation in the same spot, new and old.
We tried.
West and, yeah, like
Yeah.
apples to apples, yes.
Yeah. It's like she's trying to test us to see if we really look at these things.
Right, it is all, yeah.
So the other question I have for the commission members, are we comfortable with this, without a site visit?
If, I'd say I am, but since a lot of commissioners are out now, and if there's like time in between the next meet, if we're coming back for another meeting, it might be worth it just so everyone can be on the same page, but
Yeah, and
Well,
they're going to be, I'm sorry.
I will be carrying forward us four being the voting members next time. We won't shift the lineup, right? We're the four providing comments today. We'll be the four voting again next time. And so if we're comfortable with it, I think I'm fine with not having one. But that being said, it doesn't stop anybody from driving by to look at it and contextualize the addition if need be.
As long as the cut sheets are solid, I think I'm good.
Okay.
yeah, I'm good too. It's very clear in Google Street Views too. I mean, I'm familiar with the property, but so it's like very easy to see where it's happening.
The only other small thing that I was gonna ask if Bonnie could do, would be if she could give us a detail section or just how a lot of times we'll get a section detail showing through the addition, so we could just see the profile. If she could add a building section detail, through the addition, that would be helpful to just document that.
Definitely, okay. We can need that for the attic.
That's, unless I'm missing anything else. Eric, Josh, Marianne, please chime in.
I don't think so. I think that's, I mean, it's assuming the roof is gonna, it looks like there's asphalts.
Yeah, it's asphalt. We're gonna match the asphalt.
Paint colors would be with Andrea. I assume you're gonna let the cedar shingles naturally weather.
Yep.
Yep. So, I think that's it. So we'll do, as long as you're amenable, right? There's a few things here to clean up. I'd like to do a continuance, and then if need be, if Bonnie wants to do any of this with Andrew to get better detail. This is recorded, so she can watch this. It'll be up tomorrow or the day after, right?
Probably the day after, yep.
Yeah, so she can certainly watch and fast forward to this section if she just wants to hear our comments. So we'll do a continuation for 182 South Street. We'll put you on the agenda for our next meeting, which is going to be May 28th.
What is it? May what?
I gotta double check because it's May 23rd, I believe. Double check. 90% sure of that, but I don't like you guys
Dude, bring in.
put into the meeting that it's the wrong date. Is that correct, Andrea?
I am not seeing it right here. Sorry, but that sounds about right.
Need to know.
Thursday. Yeah, it's a Thursday, right? May 21st.
May 23rd.
May 23rd. I will let you know if that's not correct. So just let's go with it.
No,
Give us
it is.
a
I won't be attending that.
No, it's wrong, actually. Sorry. That's why I'm glad I double checked it. Our next meeting is actually earlier. It's May 16th. So you'll be on the agenda for May 16th.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you. So Marianne, are you around?
I am.
Good. Okay. That's great, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Ryan, for coming in. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you in a month.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Appreciate everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.
So our next agenda item,
Monica.
now that I've lost my agenda, is
256 South Street.
Yep, 256 South Street, located in Lincoln Historic District, to remove an existing screen porch and replace by extending a first floor room to create a 4-season porch. So, one time, so, Monica, are you presenting and sharing?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
The floor is yours.
Okay. I also have the owner, Matt, is on the Zoom, and also Dan Quayle, who is the architect. So 256 South Street, Residence A, we're asking for two things. We're asking for a certificate of non-applicability to remove and replace cedar clapboards on the barn and the house. We've already done one side previously, and the rest of it needs to be done color to match existing home, which is gray. It's going to be cedar. It's approximately 15,000 linear feet, red cedar, primed gray, and that painted to the same color as the house. That's one thing. The certificate of appropriateness is to remove a screen porch on the left side of the home, which is not historic. I don't know when it was built, but we have pictures of it, so you'll see, and replace it with a similar size structure, which is going to be an extension of the room from the first floor of the colonial. It will be at the same floor elevation as the room. Currently, right now, it's a porch that you step down into. So they would like to just extend that room, the floor heights to match. There'll be doors to an existing patio in the back, which cannot be seen from the street. We're proposing a flat roof to keep the second floor original windows. Right now it's a gable and it's short, so that window is visible. But in order to get the floor heights to match, we need to turn that into a flat roof. The railing proposed to match railing on the addition we completed in 2016, which is on that same side elevation. The existing square footage of the existing porch is 224, and the new proposed addition size is 256. So very similar in size. And then we have the pictures of the sides of the porch, the three sides that you can see. And we have proposed some designs. It would be set back from the coining on the side.
Are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, I'm going to share it right now.
Okay, good.
Okay. Share. Wait a minute. I don't know why that's doing that.
Monica, if you can't share, I can share. I'm
Yeah, okay, Matt, go ahead if you could do that. That'd be
going to
great.
show the existing porch layout.
Sure, that'd be great. That's the corner on the right side of that coining is the original house, and on the left side of the coining is the beginning of the addition. You can see the separation of the foundation there, and that's what we're proposing to remove. That's the front elevation of the existing porch, and that's the rear elevation of the existing porch. And you can see that the siding, while you're looking at that, you can see the siding needs to be replaced. We propose that that additional little bit of space that we want is actually so that we can pull the building away from the coining in the front, because it's just really jammed in there. It's just definitely not looking correct. Some space between the coining and the window. And then, Matt, do you have the proposed?
Yep.
So this is what we're proposing. And we know that this is our first meeting here. And so we want to, hear what you guys have to say about it. We have an existing railing in the rear elevation. Behind this porch is a patio, and then behind that is a similar addition. That's the kitchen with a porch. We propose to do the Marvin 5/8 wood windows in the front. The windows in the main house are 15 over 15s, so there's a lot of panes. This is going to be set back a little bit from the corner, as we propose. So we were wondering if we could have less panes, because on the side elevations where the existing kitchen is, the windows are blank on the bottom, similar to these windows that we have here, also Marvin. And this is visible. There's the addition that we did previously. The house is up on a hill, and the vegetation, it's very hard to see this addition from the street. You can see it, but not very well. And from the side, you can't really see it if you're at street elevation. We had that same discussion when we proposed the bigger addition in the rear. When you're on the streetscape, you can't really see these. I mean, that's closer to the street, but there's big, are they yews, junipers? That are overtaking that whole hill. That whole hillside is vegetation.
From street view, you can only see, basically, you'd only be able to see, and if you drive by the house, which you can, basically the top portion, the railing portion.
Is that it?
Oh, I couldn't hear anyone speaking. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Otherwise, I wasn't sure if there was more. So the one comment I have is, yes, I agree. When you're looking at it today, there's a lot of vegetative growth. However, it's in our purview, it's in our charge that we don't take into consideration vegetation, because it's not permanent. So we definitely view this as you have it rendered, which is that we can see it. Just one point of clarification. This house is a great example. It's the main body of the house is pretty original architecturally. It's a great example of a Gregorian to colonial house. So I think we're lucky to have it in Hingham. I'm going to open up comments. Josh, do you have anything?
Sure. So with the wood siding, are you planning on coming back with exactly the same dimensions of clapboard?
No, we did 4-inch exposure on the right-hand side of it when we replaced it. I guess that was a year and a half ago, Matt. 2 years.
Yep.
And the owner likes it better. And the small siding is just, they like the 4-inch better.
Okay.
Yeah. The original siding was shipped, right, which we couldn't replace because it was spongy. So best historically accurate representation of current materials was used, as well as the full restoration of the windows on the east side. To match the original, we used the original components, original glass, everything to great expense. So we're invested in maintaining the look and feel of the house. But it does need some modernization, and some of the siding, particularly on the front and the back, was not of period and has deteriorated poorly. So we're concerned about the longevity of the house.
I apologize if you hear a screaming 2.5-year-old in the background.
No worries.
And I haven't been on the commission very long, which is why I asked the question. Did you come before the commission before doing that work?
Yes.
Yes.
And so moving to the addition that's proposed, I generally I don't have concerns with the footprint. I do have concerns about the compatibility of the window selection.
Mhm.
The 8/1 is kind of more of a bungalow style window. I don't think that you necessarily need to come back with a 15/15, but I saw in some of your photos directly behind the addition, there's a 6/6. I'm sorry, a 9/9. No, it was a 6/6. I think. No, 9/9.
Yep.
So I think something along those lines would maybe be a little more appropriate to the house. Would still differentiate it, as being newer, but not necessarily, kind of I don't even know what a 6/1 window, kind of a bungalow style window. And there's a lot going on with the 3 windows on the front of the addition. I don't know if it would be possible to consider maybe 2 windows on the front, so it's not competing with the house. It looks to me like the windows are as large or larger than the windows on the main house in terms of height. I don't know if that could be minimized somewhat, just so it's not competing with the house. And then I don't have any concerns, a flat roof versus a pitched roof on the addition. But would it be possible to eliminate the railing? I don't know if you're anticipating using that as a deck. But the railing is also, I think, competing with the main body of the house. I'm gonna go on mute because my child really is screaming. Can you hear this? Can you hear the
I'll come
screaming?
back to you later.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I can come back to you later, Josh, if anything else comes out. Marianne, did you have any comments?
No, I like Josh's comments. I had a question though about the coins and the separation of the coins from the addition that would go up against them. I just can't envision how that would look. I can envision how tight it is there now, but I just, and that doesn't look appropriate, but what would it look like with the new, how are you going to do the new configuration?
We'll match the coining to the other corner of the house. If we have to rebuild the coining, we will rebuild the coining so that it has a return.
So it doesn't look like the porch
Chopped.
is, yeah, or the
No.
porch is shoved into it.
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
we'll match. They did that when they pushed that in there. We can see that that's incorrect.
Okay.
I have a design thing that I just wanted to throw out there. So if you eliminated the railing from the top of the addition, and Matt and Jen might like that, but do you think the addition will then look squatty? It will look short, don't you? Don't you think it will look short?
That was my first reaction when Josh suggested moving the railing. I thought, gee, it flattens it. It's like,
Yeah.
it just didn't look right. I can't tell you exactly what was wrong with it, but it doesn't look right.
Now, in the back of this home, there is at least 2 other different railings. One, I didn't take pictures of them, but I could. They're on the driveway side of the house. One is a flat piece of trim with an X pattern on it, so it looks solid, and it's all over, the dormer on the back of the house, but it's old. There's also on the 3rd floor in the back, which I could take pictures and bring them. There's more of a delicate Victorian style railing up on the 3rd floor, which to me doesn't feel like it goes with the age of the home. I don't know when that was done, but there are some other choices if you didn't like the open railing. But I think that if you didn't like the open railing, my own thought is it needs to have some height.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't trying to make an architectural judgment, just simply that I think that the railing competes with the historic house. And, I do, while we don't consider shrubbery when assessing you know, if we can see or can't see something, I think that just aesthetically speaking, because there is a lot of shrubbery there, you know, the addition will be almost entirely hidden behind it. Just, you know, not from our perspective, but you know, just from that aesthetic consideration. But again, that's not our ball of wax.
But are you thinking that because it's hidden, you'll be looking at a railing, and so that might feel different to you than the original old house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And yeah. And also you've got a railing that if unless you're planning on putting a door up there, you know, it's not really serving a purpose. And yeah.
It's to more aesthetically match the back of the house, which I'm showing the elevation right now. To
Yeah,
just,
from what it's worth.
to just have a flat roof on a colonial house seems disjointed to me.
I don't disagree. And a pitched roof, I think would be fine.
What it's worth, railings in Georgian architecture isn't foreign. It's actually pretty common, more in, I'd say, like more upscale Georgian architecture. So it's not like it's a completely foreign element.
I know that, you know, I think the side elevation with the matching railing is, even if we change the windows to 9/9s, I think that it matches and it kind of coordinates the back to the front. And the back of the house is not a totally new addition. It had a gambrel styled roof with some dormers, and we added the kitchen to it. So it's a lot of the original style of the house.
Hold on.
Then looks like we might have a hand raised. I don't know if it's a.
Yeah, I was gonna wait, but Marion, did you have any other comments?
I don't.
Okay, Eric, I'll circle back to you in a second. I know that Daniel has his hand raised, so we'll let him chime in if he wants to.
I was just going to say, I have a couple of additional photos of the other railings on the other side of the house, if you want to see those. And I tend to agree with, I might disagree with Monica a little bit on this one. I think, although it's nice to match the railing on the back when you look at the side elevation, I think it might look a little funny from South Street if we don't either raise the height of this a little bit, and or if there's no railing, then I think maybe the sloped roof is, you know, that matches the existing profile. The main box of the house might be a better solution, so it doesn't, you know, it doesn't look like a flat roof addition. It's typically you wouldn't have seen that in the 1700s.
Eric, you started to chime in a little bit, but I don't know if you have any other additional comments or thoughts that you want to share.
I mean, I have some similar to Josh. Like I think the 8/1 doesn't feel right to me, but I'm very comfortable with the 3 windows on the front elevation. That doesn't, I think, is take away from the addition for me. But yeah, I agree. I don't think you, again, have to match the existing windows on the front. Like that doesn't feel right. So, but I think there's like a, having divided light on the bottom does feel more appropriate. I'm trying to understand the detail of the coin too that Marianne suggested, because I think your main comment was you're trying to push it back to resolve it, but in your elevation, it looks like it's still sort of terminating midway through the coin. I may be reading that wrong on the side elevation. So, I mean, maybe just understanding that detail of where it's terminating. Is at the back of the coin, or is it in the middle? Might be kind of helpful. It's just a little unclear to me of where it's falling right now. I think my preference is for the pitched roof, but I can understand that there's a ceiling height challenge there, and doing the flat roof sort of resolves that. So I definitely don't think there's not a resolution there with a flat roof. Yeah, maybe it's just not the full railing height. It's a moderate railing height that's kind of more typical from that time, but certainly wouldn't be able to be used as a deck. And maybe that's what, if there's a future plan to modify to that deck, and that wouldn't resolve it. And I think the last comment I think Josh had hit on too is the size of the windows. It does look like they're larger on that side. And it looks from like the elevation that the trim might be different, and maybe that's just a graphical thing in the elevation. But just understanding exactly what that trim height is relationship to the main house. If it's, if you want it to be larger and there's a reason for it and a logic for it, I don't mind it being different from the main house. Again, it's addition. It doesn't have to match the main house exactly, in my opinion. But I think maybe it's just reading the 8/1, and if that's changed, it'll resolve it for me.
I feel like it looks, I'm going to jump in with my feedback. I feel like it looks too much like the house. Every time I think of houses like this, whether it's no matter the style of colonial, when they have these wing additions off the side like this, I usually picture them as being kind of a complementary appendage to the building, where they're either a lot of glass, more of a sunroom, or a lot of trim. And so this just feels forced with matching the siding. Usually, I picture this as all white siding, not lap, but more trim boards, all white. That's just where my mind usually goes. I think you can I could probably find an example. But that's usually the visual and the aesthetic that I'm used to seeing with a building, with an addition like this, especially on, this era house. So I think that's my big feedback, is that's why it just feels a little disjointed, that to me, it reads a little too much like converted sun porch still, and not cohesive with the main body of the building.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
One correction, if I get it, it's not an addition, it's a replacement of existing structure that was put in the 80s.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And that's what,
so it's an improvement in trying to make this more historically accurate, right? So the existing structure is not by any means. So what we're trying to do is put it back to a state that is as close to as reasonably accurate for the historic period using modern materials.
But that's my point. I don't think it is. I don't think that this would have originally been sided and painted to match the main body of the house. It would have. I can find an example. 1 second.
We have an example of an option that we had with trim, but
So this is a brick building, but it illustrates the point. Is
I think what you're pointing out, Dan, I think it's just kind of two in between, in my opinion. It's either
so usually this is what I'm used to seeing. Like, this is a brick example, but where it's very glassy, kind of more. I'm struggling to describe this, but that's kind of where I think you might, and I'm only one commission member, and but that's generally the look that I would tend to think to try to take this, is something where it's more monolithic attachment and less of a scaled down replication of the main body of the house.
Yeah.
I don't know if this helps, but I feel like we're getting two separate directions from Josh's comments and Dan's comments. I think it's because we're all kind of in the realm that it's just not quite right, and it might either be, but I think there's a solution either direction. Like, if you want it to be a more traditional colonial addition, I think you certainly can do it without doing the all glassy, but I think there's also approach of all glassy. So like, we don't want to tell you which way to do it, but I think there's like a path of Josh's, maybe it's 2 windows on the front elevation resolves it, or maybe it's the path that Dan says where it's like all glassy. So like, I don't want to pin you guys in, it just.
Yeah, no, I think that nails it, right? I feel like you're right. We're kind of in between 2 directions, and I think both, you're right, both can work. I think we just need to steer it a little bit more one way or the other.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally amenable to two windows. Dan, with all due respect, what you were showing is not colonial, right? A glassed in atrium, 3-season porch like that. So again, I'm trying to retain the historic value of this house, owning 3 historic houses. So I'd like to preserve the look and feel of it versus adding something new. I definitely appreciate this house. If you've ever been in, you guys are welcome to come. The exterior is 1765, right? The interior has been remodeled extensively over periods of time, right? So what I treasure in my historic houses, and this is one of 3 of them, is preserving the continuity of change over time, right? I would like to, in this particular case, return this demolish of a terrible addition with terrible windows to return it to a state that is more contemporary to the house itself. So that's my goal here. So totally fine with moving windows, 2 windows, making as what is possible in terms of panes over panes, but preserving the historic value of this house and making it a continuity.
Yeah, from my opinion, I very much appreciate it, and I think we're really close there. I feel like if anything, it sounds like a couple of tweaks and.
Yeah, I understand what Matt is saying. And I think if we change the windows to 9/9s, whether it's 2 or 3, and come back, I agree that I think that the glassed-in sunroom is not what we're going for there. So I hope that we can just come to, maybe the next meeting, we'll have some renderings that would make it more clear which direction we're going in. And just while we do that, can I just ask a question? Wouldn't you prefer to have the coining match the corner of the original coining before they put the porch on? Wouldn't that be better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I don't think anybody said otherwise.
Okay.
So I'm sure others will have there may be other suggestions for a list for next time, but cut sheets for the proposed windows with dimensions, and it would probably be helpful to know the dimensions of the existing window, or just the nearest window on the front of the house.
Yeah.
We can compare that.
Sure. And trim detail. Sizing.
Um,
And then is that roof a black rubber roof?
I would say yes.
I think just generally, yeah, I think hopefully when we get the next one, there's just a little bit more detail on just some of the materials and cut sheets, just to make sure it's all documented.
Mm-hmm.
And if we plan on sticking with a railing, maybe a detail of the railing would be helpful too.
Sure.
Sure. Got it.
And then I assume there'd be, if that's a flat roof, there's going to be a gutter. So wood gutter, copper gutter.
Okay.
We can spec it. Existing front edge is wood gutter. Everything else is aluminum or copper.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask, since we were making a variety of comments, do you feel like you've got what you need?
Yeah, I think the general direction is, or the general summary is that, there's some work to do on the windows. Some additional detailing that needs to be provided on materiality, refining, what that coinage detail looks like, just so we have it documented. Window, pane counts, refine button sizes, window dimensions, things like that. I think at the end of the day, it's up to the applicant, to decide which direction they want to go. I think that, less windows has been preferred. There's some commentary about whether it should be painted and matching the existing or not, but the applicant, has a desire and a wish, and I think that they can take the information and come back to us.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Is there, Dan, just to confirm, like, is it something that, do we need to even to vote on the certificate of non-applicability?
No, I'll take care of that.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was got in our packet, but we don't need to do anything on that. We'll continue 256 South Street to our May 18th. May 18th meeting. If that works for the applicant, if that's enough time.
Yep, that works.
Yep.
All right, we'll see you back in the morning.
Great. Thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So the Wisleys are not coming, so 107 Main Street will be continued to the May 18th meeting. And look at that, it's 8:00 on the dot. Okay, so this is for 1020 Main Street, located in the Liberty Plain Historic District, to demolish an existing home and garage. Do we have our applicant? Anton, are you on the phone?
Good evening. How are you?
Good. Let me just pull the application. So.
This application is for demolition only.
Yep. So. So this application is specifically for the demolition. So tonight we don't need to get into what would go back, what that construction would be. That would be a separate application that we review. So today is to review just the demolition over, and our charge in this is property owner who wishes to demolish a building located in the local historic district must demonstrate to the Historic Districts Commission that the request meets one of the following. And the one that has been checked for this demolition permit was demolition of a non-contributing building or addition. And then the owner must justify why the building should be considered non-contributing and why demolition of the building will not adversely affect the streetscape. So with that, I'd like to start.
Mr. Chairman, before you do, is there a hand up there, Jim?
I don't think so.
Down below, Jim?
No, he doesn't have a hand up. Nobody's hands raised.
Nobody's hands raised, okay.
Correct. So that's, I'd like to start there. I know that with our letter, we have an engineer's report, but I'd like to start at the first part of the application, which is justifying why the building should be considered non-contributing. Anton?
Yes. Well, the building, it is in poor shape, and it's built in 1950s, but the house was left unattended for such a long period of time. And I think the new house that's going to go in, it will fit, I think, better with the rest of the houses on Main Street. I think it will have a more historical feel than what's there right now.
So we got to focus on just we can't talk about what's this
Okay.
is an application for demolition. So we got to focus on focused on what the existing building is and why it does or does not contribute to the historic district. So I think, just to describe the building, it is a cape. It's a I don't have it in front of me, but it is a 1950s era cape. And it's not the only one in the district. So, it's not necessarily unique. So, I guess, usually when we would, a lot of times when we get into an application like this, whether it's for a new construction or something like that, there's been a little bit of time and research put into understanding the fabric of the district, understanding, what's contributed to the district, what, how the house plays a role. So a lot of times, we'll get information on how this plays in and why the addition makes sense and kind of the story that the district's telling. So I didn't know if you had anything you wanted us to consider from that standpoint.
Well, as far as that goes, I'm always based on the surrounding houses. Like this house doesn't really fit in with the rest of them. There are larger houses in there, and I wanted to put an addition on it so I can make it more suitable for my family. It's just the house is in such a poor shape and it's not repairable. That is the reason I'm tearing it down.
Okay.
It's a lot of mold, a lot of rot. The house is not really repairable.
Okay. With that, then we do have a letter. So we received a letter from a Mr. Kirstazen, I believe is how it's pronounced, who provided us, I'm just going to read it into the record. Dear Anton, at your request, I visited the referenced location to assess the structural condition of the existing home. I found the home in very poor structural condition and regard it as a candidate for total demo. I believe that the required work to bring the home to comply with requirements of the presently governing codes will be very costly. I recommend demolishing the existing home and rebuilding it. The home was neglected over a number of years, and this resulted in irreversible damage to most of the structural members of the house. Therefore, it will be necessary to replace them. Most of the exterior envelope is damaged as well. I could not see the whole envelope and will have to be rebuilt. Please call with questions. So I appreciate this report. It lacks substance for us to understand this. My expectation for a report like this, practicing in the field, would be that these conditions would be elaborated on, that there would be, traditionally, we've received photos documenting these existing conditions. We've had other houses that need to be picked up and moved. We've had a house picked up and moved and they thought they were going to demo it. We had these conversations, and these conversations always go with, actually documenting what the conditions are. We don't take lightly in the districts demolishing a home, especially when we're saying it's because of its structural integrity. I don't want to take that lightly. I don't want to set a precedent for that. I don't want to set an expectation for that. So while I do appreciate this letter, it certainly requires, in my opinion, additional documentation to support the letter. And so that's what I would be looking for. I don't believe that, I think unfortunately Mr. Kirstazen wasn't available tonight, but I think that would be my feedback is documentation of the poor structural condition that's in this letter, additional information on what codes would be required to bring it up to code from a structural standpoint. I'm not sure if I really follow that lining. I think this is a quick jump to say demolition. So that's where I'm at this point. Mr. Anton, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to share.
Well, I did send you pictures, but everyone I think came into the house. The house has a lot of mold,
Yep.
and there is a lot of rot, especially on the roof. We ripped up a lot of the blue board up there. It's a lot of rot. That roof, it's totally rotted. It's so much mold in there that I don't know how to reverse that if I was to move in and do a demo in there and actually repair that house and bring in my kids. I will not do it. No, it's impossible to repair it. And as far as bringing it up to code, they went down in the basement. The joists are not wide enough for the span they have. They need to be replaced. So
Yes, if that's the case, those are the types of things that need to be in this letter. So that
I understand, but I did send in pictures and you guys came in. You did see how much mold was in there. I don't know who can repair that much, like remove and replace all the studs. That's not normal.
So
Go ahead, sorry.
So, yeah, I think there's the information that we have today doesn't take me from, yes, there's a lot of mold. And we were all in there, and there's definitely work that needs to be done. But presented to us at this moment, at this meeting, does, in my opinion, and we still need to hear from the other commission members, doesn't take us from, unrepairable and structurally deficient to needing to demolish it, right? Like, so we're talking about two different things, right? Like, being uninhabitable because of mold and needing remediation is one thing, but then claiming that it's structurally compromised and needs to be demolished is another thing. And I feel like we're kind of talking about two different things to mix them together and kind of get somewhere. So right now, I don't really see documentation saying from, a industrial hygienist saying this cannot be remediated and needs to be demolished. And I don't see anything. I see a structural engineering letter saying that it does need to be demolished, but I don't see any evidence supporting that. And so I'm not quite to the point where I would personally feel comfortable getting to the demolition part of this, but one member on the commission, I'd like to hear from the other three, and then I do know that we have the public, so, Eric.
Go ahead.
Eric, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I mean, I think honestly, you hit a lot that I was probably going to comment on. So I did do the walkthrough. There's certainly a lot of mold, but when we were there, most of the structure wasn't exposed. It was all encased. So I can't comment on, the extent of the structure. We did go down the basement. From my experience, I didn't see any rot in the joists in the basement. But again, I think to Dan's point, we just need more documentation, clarity of the specifics were found to understand it. The foundation wall, if there's any issue with the foundation wall. And I think most importantly, in my mind, it's tagged demolition for non-contributing building or addition, which I don't think is appropriate in my mind, because I think with the historic record, it certainly is, just because it's a later building, 1950. I live in a just pre-war colonial that's also has a historic tag, so like it's certainly not the original, or sorry, pre-war Cape. So I think it still can be, there's a historic significance to the district, particularly if you go through the card talking about sort of the origins of early settler, the gardeners who sort of subdivided this property and built a few capes for their children, which then moved out, and it represents sort of a specific period of that build. So my first tag is I don't think that is an appropriate reason for demolition. I think it really is more if there's a structural concern. So I would agree with Dan that we need more understanding of really what the conditions are as far as structural concerns with photos and documentation, and then mold remediation if it's not possible, or just really understand what the scope is. And, maybe that we get there and that's where it has to happen. And I want to be sympathetic to that. If it's to a point where, it can't be salvaged by all means, I understand that has to happen, but we certainly need more information to make that judgment.
Josh, do you have any comments?
A few. So I'm not a structural engineer. I have rehabilitated over 1 million square feet of historic properties. And to my eye, this building looks eminently salvageable. Again, I won't take issue with the structural report, but I would like to have more information perhaps on the engineer's familiarity with historic structures. I have found in my professional experience that sometimes there will be widely varying reports that come back from folks who deal, with different types of construction. So just making sure that he is qualified specifically in the construction of these historic homes. I do think I would echo the earlier comments. I do think that this house probably contributes to the district. If you read the historic inventory from 1987, when the house was, I think, only about 37 years old, they already were speaking about it in pretty glowing terms. And now that it's almost 75 years old, I think that it probably would absolutely contribute to the historic nature of the district in terms of materials, in terms of construction. And it tells part of the story of the subdivision of the larger, one of the original 16 lots into these smaller parcels. And so while there are certainly larger homes in the neighborhood, there are also a lot of those were earlier homes, and some of the later homes were smaller. And so I think that's in keeping with the nature of the lot. And the only other concern that I'd like to have in any additional reports that come in are some of the measures that you have undertaken since purchasing the property, to slow down, stop, or mitigate any of these, the water intrusion, and just making the steps you've taken to make the house kind of tighter to the elements. I think all of that would be great to know.
Okay, and thanks, Josh. Is that everything? Was that all, Josh?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so just to follow up on your comment, Josh, when the card, just for the record, says, the house's vernacular simplicity establishes a rapport with its period neighbors and it relates well to the main streetscape. It's a pleasant component of the proposed Liberty Plain Historic District. So that's when the Liberty Plain Historic District, when it was being added to the register. So there was thought put into this house being added. It wasn't just added and done because the line was drawn. It was evaluated and added. So I feel like that's an important point. There's in my mind, with that being said, there's a high bar to meet to demolish a house that was intentionally put into the register. So I know that we have members from the community on. So we do have, let's see, what time is it? 8:18. We do have an agenda item at 8:20. We're not going to be on time for that, but I don't want to go too long. So I'd like, if anybody from the public wishes to comment, to try to keep their comments 5 minutes or less. Gary? You're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate your and the commission's review of this project.
Just state your address, Gary.
Yes, 1029 Main Street. I'm in a butter across the street from 1020 Main Street. And I just want to go back and just share quickly just a little bit of history. I was the chair of the Liberty Plain Historic District Study Committee in 1987 and 88. And as you say, and I appreciate you've recognized this, that we put a lot of thought into the evaluation and thereby assessment and or recommendation for all the properties in the Liberty Plain Historic District to be involved in the district. And we work very closely with Monique Lehner and Minxie Fannin to put together the Form Bs, which are the documents that you have associated, which would be the basis of why this property is contributing. And I think one of the things that was key in our establishment of the district is that the district has approximately 30 capes, and it has other structures, but what's significant about this district is the intact capes that have been preserved over time, and these capes range in age from 35 to 290 years old, and some of them are older than that. And so this house basically followed that pattern, that sequence of proportioning and design, and thereby the scale and character of this house is significant in contributing to the district. And even though it was built in 1950, it has the proportion and the scale and the character of the district. So that's very important, I think, to note. The second thing I think I'd like to raise is that this house was purchased approximately 4+ years ago. There was an elderly lady and her son lived in the house at the time. And then 3 years ago, the use of this house was discontinued because the utilities were cut, water, electrical, and gas. This house has basically been open and cold and wet for since then, for over 3 years. And so we as neighbors and people who live in this district are concerned about demolition by neglect. We're very much concerned that nothing's been done to this house by the owner who lives just up the street. And so it's very important to us that this house be preserved and brought back because it's a wonderful house. The other thing I'd just like to mention is that I'm a licensed architect of 45 years in Massachusetts, and I took a good look at the house and the structure and what have you. The materials and the framing are quarter sawn. They're basically first-class materials as we had in 1950, first-class craftsmanship, first-class respect for the proportions and design of what came before. So I did not see anything in this house structurally that would legitimize its, any kind of a motion for demolition. Yes, the garage sheathing on the roof has some problems. It's been leaking. I understand that. Yes, the dormers where they meet the step flashing at the roof are leaking because the roof has never been patched and never been repaired. It's all easily fixed. The house is straight, level, plumb, and true. I think it's definitely a candidate for renovation. And I think given the housing crisis we have in the state, it would be great to put another small house in this town back on a state where it could be lived in by a young family or an old family, whatever. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that just for the board's consideration, I've been on the planning board for 20 years. I just wanted to basically bring your attention to section in the zoning bylaw, section 3-1.1.d and E. And I just wanted to make sure you understood that a property that has been abandoned, if it's a conforming use in the district, residential use in a residential district, if the use has been discontinued for 2 years plus a day, the use can be reestablished as a matter of right. However, if the property is torn down because it's been abandoned, because the utilities have been cut, if this property is torn down, it loses its grandfathered status, it loses its ability to take advantage of the Hatfield Amendment. Any new construction would have to be done by a variance on the zoning code, or if our proposed warrant at town meeting passes, by special permit. However, any new construction would have to meet the current zoning bylaw setbacks, which is 35-foot front yard on Main Street, 35-foot side yard on Scotland Street, 20-foot northern side yard to the abutter, and a 25-foot setback to the east on the back. I just bring this up as a proactive suggestion to the owner who would be a future neighbor that it would not be in his best interest to tear this house down because he could not rebuild it on this site. It's too small. The lot is too small to rebuild this house. It's pre-existing, non-conforming. So he can, if he doesn't tear it down, he can still maintain the existing front, side, and rear yard setbacks. On Scotland Street, the garage is 14 feet from the lot line. If he tears the house down, the Scotland Street
1 minute, Gary.
has to be 35 feet. I just bring that up just for your edification. I think it's germane.
All right. Thank you, Gary, for all the information. Obviously, the zoning information, the planning board information is useful information, but not within our purview that would come in under. But yes, very prudent information to have available. Any other public?
Yes, Dan, I'd like to say something.
All right, Marianne.
Hi, I'm Marianne Donaldson. I live at 1030 Main Street, which is right across Scotland Road from the 1020 Main Street structure. I was coming down Gardner Street today and I stopped to make my turn onto Main Street and I saw this house. I've seen this house many times, but knowing that it was going to come before the Districts Commission this evening, I just took a different look at the house and I thought, now, isn't this a lovely gateway into South Hingham off of, if you're coming from Derby Street, if you're coming from 3A and want to take the cut through on Gardner. And I just thought how cute it is and how disrespectful it is that it has been left to rack and ruin. And that's what a historic district is all about. Gardner Street is not in a historic district, and that's, willy-nilly construction and housing. So I would like to see, I love my house on Main Street. I love Main Street. I love a historic district. And I would like to see the district preserved with what the founders of the district in 1987 decided they wanted to create: big houses, little capes, houses in between. And I think it's just a travesty to even consider the word demolition in the same breath as a 1950s house. I think everything has to be done that it should be restored and respectful of the houses in the neighborhood and also the people who pay for the houses in the neighborhood. We really like our district. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Marianne. Are there any other public comments? I don't see anybody else. I don't know Jim. That wants to make public comment. Oh, Jim, is that? Guess not. Okay, so I'm just going to summarize all that real quick. So, and then let me just summarize all that, and then we can continue the conversation, Anton. So, I think the biggest things we're looking for is additional information from the structural engineer side of documenting existing conditions and what was observed, and if there's code issues, what they are, explaining that, potentially credentials, credentials of professionals providing this evidence. I mean, that's important. It's actually listed on the application. If there are hygienic concerns, I think an industrial hygienist would be the applicable person to provide that information, saying that, the mold is so bad that it cannot be remediated. I think that documentation would be needed. So I think that's what we'd be looking for, additional documentation. I think we've shared with you our opinions on the appropriate, that this building is contributing to the district. So I think that summarizes where we're at this point. I don't know if you have any questions or comments for the commission.
Well, I do have a question. I mean, the engineer came in, he spent quite a bit of time in there. And initially I bought that house with the idea to repair it. And the garage, obviously, the garage is actually a total tear down from day one. That was not, it's irreparable. Then is the basement, the water comes in through that foundation, it has to be totally repaired. the water, when it rains, that basement gets like a foot of water almost. When it rains a lot. So that foundation had, I don't know what needs to be done to it, but it has to be repaired. Water comes in through.
Yeah,
the whole-
I fully
It's-
appreciate what you're telling us. I think that's what we need, though. We can't.
But the
can't
thing
make
is
it
to
as-
repair it, the engineer did give a report.
This is a great summary as a starting place, but we need more documentation to substantiate what's being said in this report. This is an important thing, and we can't take it lightly. We're not saying that this isn't accurate, and this isn't where it's, that his opinion's incorrect. But it needs to be documented so we can see it and understand it. I was in the house. I didn't see evidence of a foot of water in the basement. If you have a photo of that, provide it. If you have a photo of these things, we're getting this information and it's being told to us, but we need it documented. This application lives in a record. We can go pull up and figure out why we've done other projects. We need this to be documented within our purview or within our charge. So I think that's what we're looking for. So we have, in my mind, we have two choices. Three choices. We can do the same thing we did last time, which is withdraw the application, no bias, prejudice, and come back. Or we have time, we can do a continuation and provide additional documentation that we're seeking. Or the commission could take a vote on it tonight. So I leave those three choices to you.
What's the quickest way? Because
A continuation is the easiest. We can continue to the next meeting, which is May 18th. And we would request that, May 16th. And we would request that you submit the additional documentation that we're looking for.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay. So we'll continue 1020 Main Street to our May 16th meeting. And then if you want to submit the documentation ahead of our next meeting so that we have time to absorb it. And if we have additional things that we're looking for, I can provide that information back to Andrea and we can meet again on the 16th.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Dan,
Good night, everyone.
One comment on that.
Yes, Eric.
Just so for the application demolition, again, I feel like the number 2 demolition of a non-contributing building or addition isn't appropriate. So it'd probably be a demolition, correct me if I'm wrong, is due to economic hardship, and there's sort of a bullet points of what's required for that, which I don't think we talked about all those things. So I just want to make sure that the applicant understands exactly what they need to provide.
Yes, I would say that it would either be 1 or 4. I think the applicants heard our feedback about how our opinions on the demolition of non-contributing building in addition. So it's up to the applicant to decide if he wants to revise his application with Andrea to another one of those options or keep it as number 2. But we've shared our feedback and our opinions on that at this point.
Mr. Chairman, may I just also add that I think what might be helpful, Anton,
Yes.
the questions that were asked for you to fill out, I think that if you were to use them as a tool to go more in depth, I think that would really benefit your position. I notice, answering yes or no doesn't tell us anything. So I would just say, go over that again and see if you find that helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anton.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next agenda item and last is, or not last, but last applicant for the
But
night.
not least.
Yeah, it's 224 South Street. This is, like we said, Carson is back again like a bad penny. It should be pretty quick though. I was on the edge about this, and I asked Carson, I really appreciate you coming in for this because after we met and we approved all the materials and everything for his latest application, there was potentially an idea to change out a material. So we already have an approval for this, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just a materiality change from the original application, right, Carson?
That is correct.
So if you could just share with us, it's for the patio, right, that you did in the back?
Correct, yep.
So if you could just share, what we had approved and what you want to pivot to and the reasoning, and I think we can kind of keep this brief.
Sure. So the dimensions of the patio will remain as approved, circular 15-foot diameter, and simply moving away from the pea stone with cobble border to same cobble border, but a paver material instead of the pea stone. Reason being, we've got to go, as discussed last time, we've got to go kind of deep on that particular section of yard in terms of repair. Again, not changing the grade, but just making it solid and buildable. And during the conversation around how to do that, had a couple of hardscape pros say, this is going to last you longer and act better over time as a slightly more permeable or slightly less permeable surface from a maintenance standpoint. This is going to be a better patio. So I shared, I think, a link with Andrea in terms of the application around a paver instead of a stone.
Yes. And I think, Daniel, if you wouldn't mind calling up the.
Working on it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yep.
Don't mean to be pushy.
No, you're fine. So I believe, yeah, that's that. This is the example, right?
Right. So, the more I started playing with designs, aside from the maintenance and the durability factor, I just started really liking the cobble idea with that as the border as a starting point. So I said, well, what's going to be most complementary? It doesn't have to be that particular item from Lowe's. I'm sure there's a whole world of this stuff, but that's the idea.
So 2-inch pavers, chipstone, palmer. And then this is the patio area.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions, comments from commission members?
None for me.
Eric's good. Josh, are you there? You still good?
I am
Hi.
just joined by the junior commission.
Yeah, I had mine earlier. It's your turn.
So
Excellent.
I was remembering this on the northwest corner of the house on the street, but I think it's on the southwest corner of the house, correct? And so that's
Yes.
that being the
Correct.
case, I think I would be fine with it.
Mary Ann?
I love pavers. I think pavers are great. So I think it's a great idea.
All right.
And complementary to the house and the setting.
Anybody want to make a motion?
This is one where I don't have the original application again, but,
No, you don't need it. It's a new application.
all right, I don't have the new one either, but I think I can probably
There.
make do.
got
Move certificate of appropriateness to 224 South Street, located in the Lincoln Local Historic District, for a change in materials, approved side patio from gravel to pavers, per provided specs in the dated submission from 4/15/24.
Second.
Second, any discussion?
Second,
Second, any discussion? Josh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Marion?
aye.
Aside from me. Carson, thank you. I just didn't, it was on the edge for me to, sometimes Andrew will ask me as chair and I'll say, yes, that's fine, but I didn't want to unilaterally make this decision change. So thank you for just popping in real quick.
No, that's absolutely fine. It's got to be done right. So
And I'm sorry you had to wait all this time, but because I put you, it was at the last minute. And so I put you on last, so I apologize. I
that's
didn't
fine.
have
There
a
was
choice.
no worries. There's a lot of exciting projects up tonight, so I enjoyed
Ooh,
it.
yeah.
Real quick, has anyone seen the new colors?
No, but I'll drive by tomorrow now.
Drive by tomorrow. Everybody, do a parade. I'll be there this
Well.
weekend if you want to say hello.
I think it looks
Okay.
great.
Oh, thanks.
Not speaking on behalf of the commission, but I think it looks great.
Hmm.
Well,
Josh,
great.
Introduce us to.
This is what is your name?
Lillian.
Lillian.
Oh, how pretty.
Hi, Lillian.
Hi, Lillian. That is just lovely.
This is the screamer, if anybody heard her earlier. I don't know.
Aw, there must have been a good reason.
Josh, I didn't hear her on Zoom, but I heard her over from you down the road.
Yeah. I normally put her to bed, so I think that was the reason. So.
Mm.
All right, let's get our meeting minutes done and we can go. Thank you, Carson.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks
Take
a
care.
lot, Carson. Bye.
My pleasure. Talk later.
I gotta tell you, Robin did a yeoman's job on that, on the minutes. I mean, she did an incredible job. So hooray for Robin.
I got a chance to read through these. I didn't have any edits, but I don't know. Usually Justin catches a comma or a typo in there, but I don't know if anybody else caught anything.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't get a chance to look at them today, so I don't know.
I read them and I didn't have any comments, but I might not have been as precise as Justin.
You know what I'm gonna do? It seems you haven't had a chance, Eric, and it's late, and I'm just going to continue. Can I continue adopting these meeting minutes until next meeting? Is that fine?
Sure.
Andrew?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We'll do that. We'll continue the meeting minutes from March 21st, 2024 to our next meeting, when we have additional members with us and we've all had a little bit more time to review them. All right, so with that, I think that is our meeting for this month. Unless
Oh, by the way, just to let you know, I got Carol sent a text message. Her car broke down.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I don't know where, but it
Oh,
prevented
oh,
her
oh.
from being able to join us tonight.
Gotcha. All All right, any other comments before we adjourn? All right, well, I'm glad our two of our three alternates showed up so we can have a meeting tonight, so, don't forget, you're always on deck, things happen. Steve had a meeting pop up at 6, Carol's car broke down, Catherine had, some family things to deal with, so things happen, so thank you for being available. Motion to adjourn by anybody?
So moved.
All
Or,
right.
yeah.
You can do that, I'm fine with that. Second?
Second,
Marianne, yeah, Marianne, how do you vote?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And it's an aye for me, so thank you guys, we'll do it again in a month. Happy town meeting tomorrow, Thursday, maybe even Friday.
Oh, no, no.
All right,
No,
thanks
no,
everybody.
no.